Right, there you go. We are quicker than we say. So we have a session now. This is going to be a panel discussion, more like a fireside chat even. I want to welcome Robin Joff, who is a partner and managing director at Frost and Sullivan Middle East, as well as Mark Notkin, Chief Innovation Officer at Petromin and Head of Electromin. Together, they are going to delve into the issue of empowering the future, leveraging electrification for sustainable mobility, looking at innovative strategies in sustainable transportation and business transformation. So, with both Robin's extensive international business experience and Mark's visionary leadership in advancing mobility, particularly electric mobility, this interview promises valuable insights into the future of mobility, sustainable and electric, and its impact on business growth and innovation. So, let's give them a nice, big, warm welcome. Please, gents, take a seat.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Nice to meet you. Robin Jaffe here from Frost and Sullivan. Nice to see you, Mark.
Nice to meet you, Robin. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting and having me here.
So, as we've been hearing the previous speakers, the EV market here is starting to heat up. We're starting to see more investments coming into the market. Frost and Sullivan, as a company, we've been here watching the mobility market for about 14 years, both looking at it as a destination, but also to see now recently, in the last few years, about the investment in manufacturing. And over the last year, we did a lot of surveys across the market, and we noticed that surprisingly, a large number of people between the age of 56 and 66 are actually have an intent to purchase an electric vehicle over the next 2 years as they start to be released in the market. Also, we've been hearing from various people about Lucid and Sear coming into the market in the next few years. How do you see all of this changing over the next decade, in regards to the desire by the Saudi government, by the industry, to become an EV market leader?
I hope, yeah, it works now. It's a very challenging question, Robin, on one hand. On another hand, it's an interesting question. Challenging why? Because obviously, you would agree that none of us have got a glass ball where we can look into the future. On another hand, talking about reality, and reality is what? Reality is that the Saudi automotive market right now would probably amount to 75 billion dollar. So, and it's a growing market. The total industry volume reached to 700,000 plus, right? Or crossed the 700,000 vehicles per year, and it's a substantial market. What will be the share of electric vehicles in that market? The previous speaker have announced numbers from 15 to 30% of the total industry volume. I do agree with that. I personally believe that the share could even grow further, depending on what the government will do in terms of supporting the demand and supporting the retail, right? Because currently the government is dedicated towards creating or focused at creating jobs, diversifying the economy. So personally, I believe that automotive industry of Saudi Arabia will be electric, and with that, it will play a fundamental role in Saudi Arabia. And the young population definitely does support those trends.
As you just mentioned, that there's different people say different things. The government says one thing, industry says another. Some say 30, some say 9. We actually, as a company, actually feel that it's going to be, and of course it will change over time, closer to 9% right now. That's how we're viewing the market. But which segment do you think is going to take the biggest percentage of this market? Do you think trucks and buses and this kind of larger scale products, because of the large amounts of CO2 that they emit? And and the second question to this would be, do you see, or what do you see with the big mega projects and how they will influence this sector?
Let me start with the second, probably part of your question because it's more simple. The giga projects or mega projects like Red Sea, the Red Sea, Neom, the Line, etc., they dominate. They set the trend, right? But they set the trend, and the trend is absolutely clear. CO2 emission reduction, clean energy, etc. Be it now electric or hydrogen, but that's the direction, right? And in both cases, electric vehicles and hydrogen powered train technology will support going into that direction, no doubt. And the first question, what sector? The automotive sector. I do believe that the dominator currently will be the public transportation, also all types of commercial fleets, because those will electrify much faster and will adopt much faster. Why? There is a need. There is a huge need in transportation, in the logistics. For example, companies who work with blue chip institutions like PepsiCo or even the Red Sea, by default, they have to be electrified. So.
And as a charging point operator, Electromin is the first company that invested in a large number of these charging stations already. I think, of course, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but more than 100 of these already that have been established across since 2022. In the first phase and in the second phase, we understand there's going to be additional AC and DC charging stations. And as Adil, he's asked a question before, with the five major cities having big distances between them, and they're looking at the density of population to select these. Do you expect that your business will become profitable in, let's say, the next, how long do you think it will be profitable? And then do you see that the government needs to play even a stronger role than it is playing up till now?
Let's say, talking about the charging infrastructure and bearing in mind the density of the population or the population distribution here, 80% or probably more than 80% of the population live in three agglomerations or three cities, right? That's Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam, Al-Khobar. So this is where population lives. What is it all about? For us, it's all about creating transportation corridors, right, between them, connecting the dots. How many stations or charging hubs would be required between those agglomerations depends at the end on number of vehicles, electric vehicles in the market, right? As long as the number is still pretty low, not many stations are required. So it's just important to connect the dots, maybe one or another in between. Between such destinations like Riyadh or and Jeddah or Riyadh and Dammam. This is just to answer that. What government does? Government has taken, I would say, a tremendous initiative to invest into creating public charging infrastructure. So the EVIC was established last year. EVIC is one of the major players. Electromin is probably now the second one in terms of creating public charging infrastructure, right? Because with regard to DC chargers, EVIC will probably play currently a dominant role, so followed by Electromin. But overall, the number of charging devices, etc., of different types, so Electromin is still the leader, and will remain being the leader.
In our study that I mentioned before, we went out and we interviewed a lot of people in the market, and we found out that also, and it was mentioned a little bit, and I'd like to know how you will address this issue. 79% of men, 65% of women in Saudi Arabia really felt that these charging stations should be put on, that highways are their most preferred location. And besides the fact of the distance, do you see any other major challenges to putting these and addressing the consumer requirements, and then what is Electromin themselves planning on doing to address those specific needs?
Look, if I'll try to answer your question from global perspective, right? Because the experience in electric charging infrastructure comes actually from bigger advanced markets like China, Europe, US. So the probably 80+% of charging will happen at home or at work. The growing battery range of electric vehicles, and currently we have reached 460 on average, right? Going even up to 600 in the next generation and 800, close to 1,000 kilometers range will reduce the pressure on charging infrastructure as such, right? Also the demand for public charging stations with the increasing capacity of the batteries will definitely reduce. What will also play a significant role is not only the charging capacity, but this charging speed. Because the charging speed, there have been announcements just recently coming from China that there is a new range of batteries coming up with the charging speed of up to 10 minutes for a range of 600 kilometers. So again, how many more or how many charging stations would you require once the vehicle itself changes? So I see it exactly from that perspective. Currently, I understand the fear. Give us more, create charging hubs. But we will see with the time, first of all, that this will happen. There will be charging hubs, public charging hubs. And there will be also a change, a quantum leap in the technology.
Do you expect that the charging landscape is here in Saudi will be more, let's say, AC or DC charging, and then what we've been hearing and what we've been, talking to consumers, etc., that really that DC is preferred right now. I mean, in what people are saying is, but the cost of setting that infrastructure is very high. And do you think higher prices are going to have to be introduced? Is that the way forward for this?
Robin, I believe that, again, I would be probably repeating myself a little bit, but 80% of charging, if it happens at home, then the pressure on overall infrastructure will just absolutely dramatically reduce. So 80% of charging at home means that 80% of charging devices will be AC, right, and not DC. However, when it comes to destination charging, and destination could be then a mall, destination could be a stadium or anything, any other place where people spend time, then the trend there is also going towards higher capacity of devices, right? So actually more powerful devices, but we haven't reached the level where DC charges will be required. Probably it might happen in one or another destination where people don't stay long, right? Because DC chargers and ultra-fast chargers, they are required there where people have no time. If time is there, right, if you go to a cinema, you don't need to charge your vehicle in 10 minutes. Because also this type of charging will be significantly more expensive for private users and for commercial users as well. And then for commercial users, again, it depends on the type of operations. If you operate a fleet, where cars stand overnight, right, then you don't necessarily need DC devices. AC will do the work. Will be probably also financially feasible, more feasible.
This is a question that as you were talking, I was just thinking about this, which is, do you see any particular part of the country adopting it faster than another region? Like, do you think Riyadh versus, let's say, Jeddah versus, any other, that they will have a more open-minded adoption of this?
It's, for me, quite challenging to speak about open-mindedness, But I would just say, based on what I know and the initiatives what were publicly announced, and Riyadh supposed to adapt faster than Jeddah because there was a clear announcement and clear message sent to the market that 30% by the end of the decade of vehicles operated should be electric, right? So that brings me to the conclusion that Riyadh will be probably the leading city in Saudi Arabia in terms of adoption and also utilization of electric cars of different types.
Mark, do you think that there will become over time a kind of a collaboration or cooperation between the brands in establishing this future infrastructure for charging infrastructure, and they'll work together more than they do in other countries?
If I look again at developed, more advanced markets, then yes, there is a probability or highly likely there will be a collaboration between the brands. Even if you look now at the Chinese market and the collaboration between the German manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes, they have formed joint ventures to address those challenges, etc. I think that for Saudi Arabia, we will see similar trends.
We have a nice vent over there. How can Electromin support the overall innovation drive here in the kingdom, specifically in the power sector? Do you see a lot of collaboration with other organizations, power companies, or private sector, or OEMs specifically? And if you're already doing that, are you able to mention some of this or your opinion on this?
So first of all, our business model is such, and we consist of 4 business verticals, right? We created an ecosystem that supports the electric mobility in total, meaning that we are quite prominent and bold in establishing the charging infrastructure and establishing solutions around that. We are quite bold in selling commercial electric vehicles. We are bold in selling passenger vehicles, and we are stepping now into public transportation as well. So is that a support for the country and for the electrification? I think so. I believe so. We are in a way a trendsetter, right? Because we are pioneers, we are trendsetters, and that is our contribution towards Vision 2030 and implementation of all the objectives related to that. So companies with whom we collaborate are King Abdullah Economic City, the Red Sea Global, Knowledge Economic City. We collaborate with, I would say, industrial giants like Tawal. Tawal is an exclusive operator of telecom towers. And there are exciting, really exciting projects and exciting initiatives already cooking. So I'm not in the position now to announce, but very soon they will be deployed, and we will see really a quantum leap in implementing the infrastructure, in really helping overall the kingdom to achieving CO2 emission reduction objectives.
So I have 2 additional questions. And these questions are really about Electromin again. And which sectors do you plan as a company to be your main focus? And you mentioned some various throughout the thing, but directly responding to this, is it fleet? Is it obviously you mentioned some commercial side of things? Commercial. Is it geographic expansion? Is it like, let's say, mass passenger car electrification? Where do you see your focus, if it's not today, but over the next few years, maybe a change?
Right. Let me start with the geography. Geography of Electromin changed. I'm absolutely proud to state that we are probably the first Saudi company what expanded to India in the area or in the industry of charging infrastructure and charge point operation. So we are the first one, and we will start operating in India in 3 months from now, but across the entire country, and we will be definitely one of the top 3 charge point operations. So for a Saudi company, it's more than a quantum leap. I believe it's a challenge, but it's a huge responsibility at the end. Whether it has been a great financial achievement or not, we still have to prove. But that is the geography. Geography will also change in terms of operating in the Middle East. So we'll step definitely into Bahrain, right? Expand to Bahrain. And with regard to industrial diversification, etc., where we see the opportunities, I already named them. So transportation in a wider sense, right? Public transportation, where we will also ourselves become more prominent and active. Then we will deal in the cities like Knowledge Economic City, what is Medina, and King Abdullah Economic City. We want to step into micro-mobility. So I see that the current development and the market opportunities, they are great for electric mobility specifically. So, and besides that, again, I believe that the transport sector as such, that is the probably closest and lower hanging fruit at present.
I actually have, I'm going to ask my last question, then I have a question on innovation at the very end. I'm going to ask you this question, but if you look back over the last few years and you look at what's your way forward as a company, what are the things that you expected and what are the things that you were surprised about in this industry, and maybe how you're dealing with those changes or those initiatives or whatever that they brought you surprise?
I was probably surprised about emotions around electric mobility going currently slightly down, because there are a lot of global discussions going into, let's say, more financial or highlighting financial aspects of the business, what is indeed challenging, not only for the manufacturer of vehicles or predominantly for the manufacturer of vehicles, but also for manufacturer of chargers, etc., charge point operators. So the industry is not easy, right? For me, it's not a question whether it will succeed or not. Definitely it will, because in Saudi Arabia, the share of electric vehicles and the share of electrified economy can only grow. It will not decrease. It will grow. The question is, will it grow triple digit every year? Will it grow double digit every year? That's the question. But there is no doubt that it will grow. Now, coming from that, and that disturbs currently, right? Because that influences also the decision-making process, not only at our end, but also at the end of potential investors, right? And what probably could be a little bit better is initiatives, one or another initiative coming from the financial world, meaning I wish that there will be a fund, a kind of green fund in Saudi Arabia, what would support companies like us in implementing challenging solutions, right? Solutions with high degree of technological advancement and so on, because those solutions would aim to provide substantial improvement for the next years to come. They cost more. So the cost of money, if that could be reduced or if it could be addressed, that would be preferred solution for electromobility.
As a final question, this is something that just came up in listening to the previous people, also in talking with you. I think that to make any kind of industry very successful is to attract innovation, to attract startup ecosystem here, to make people invest in new types of companies. And if you have any opinion on this, the companies around the world, Silicon Valley, looking at how various industries have developed. Do you think this is something that's needed in the mobility sector here to help drive some of the initiatives? Not, of course, on these big scale projects, but as supporting companies like yours.
Robin, I don't want to go now into theoretical part of definitions, but innovation for me is probably to 80% means to 80% doing things better what you already have, and to 20% inventing new things and attracting or creating new things. Let me give you an example. When we established the second and the third, I call them business verticals of Electromin, meaning selling electric vehicles, right, commercial or passenger, we did it in collaboration with other existing business verticals of the Petromin Corporation. We didn't go for standalone solutions and replicated or quadruplicated what is already there. Because if I would go a classic way, for example, Volvo, I would create a network of Volvo dedicated exclusive facilities. And the innovation in that sense was not to do that in terms of after sales and utilize what is already given. This innovative business approach was quite a big challenge because the OEMs, they think in different categories. To convince the one or another OEM to support you going into that direction is a substantial innovation from my perspective. Right? Another innovation is to create Electromin as an ecosystem. Because let me be honest, if we would be represented in the first our own business vertical charging infrastructure, would we be in a position to survive? Hardly. Hardly, right? Because money is expensive, because financially there's a big pressure. So selling commercial vehicles generates additional revenue. It's an additional revenue stream generator. Same applies to passenger vehicles, same applies to transportation, and so on and so forth, because it will not stop there. And that is for me an innovation as well. I hope I answered your question.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you. Well,
Thank you very much.
That was the last question. But are there any questions from the audience? We have about a minute and a half. If there's any questions. Okay. Thank you. Oh, is it?
Thank you, Mark. My name is Quinn Garcia. I'm with Autotech Ventures. We're a Silicon Valley-based venture capital firm that specializes in mobility and automotive startups and helping corporations from around the world to access those startups to innovate. In your role as Chief Innovation Officer, do you all have any external innovation activities, or such as incubations or accelerator programs or venture building programs or corporate venture capital, those types of initiatives? What role do startups play in your innovation activities?
Look, actually, honestly spoken, I would like to take that offside, but because that's an intimate question. Never mind. Look, objective of Electromin and objective of Petromin at this stage is not to sell the company. So, are the market conditions rough, tough? They are. I do believe that with what we have established, we are on absolutely right track. So we can manage the resources, we can manage the financials, we are good. Can we manage the growth ourselves? At present, we can. And I would like to put a full stop here.
Well, that was excellent. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my name is Ala. I'm from OBS. It's accessories companies. And my question is, because I'm following many news about Electromin, I've heard that you have signed a partnership with Budget Rent-A-Car. Can you tell us more? What kind of cooperation can be happen with Budget?
So, agreement what we have signed goes into two directions. Direction number one is electrification of their outlets, right? Rent-a-car outlets. This is first creating an infrastructure for them, and the second that goes now towards leasing solutions for our corporate clients. That's it. Down to earth. We're still in the automotive.
Okay, I think we have time for one more, and then.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is
Alaikum
Muhammad. Unfortunately, you are talking about creative and innovation.
We can't hear you.
So we heard about wireless charger for vehicles like Chinese doing, and we heard about mobile charging service. So are you looking for such services in future? Or?
Absolutely, yes, we do. So mobile charging and wireless charging, that was the question. So mobile charging, we are probably the only one who can, in Saudi Arabia, who can offer you mobile chargers right now. So we have got vehicles equipped with mobile chargers. They come to you, they charge you on the spot, right? With regard to wireless charging, we as Petromin have invested in a Korean company what is specialized in those wireless charging solutions. So do we own the technology? Yes, we have the technology. We can provide you with that technology. Are we going to implement it anyway soon in Saudi Arabia? It depends on particular financials and business cases. Right, because this type of the technology is definitely quite, is substantially more expensive than conventional charging devices.
Can I ask one more question regarding the?
Yeah, so why don't we take it
yeah.
offline, because I think that there's another presentation, but I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very
And
much.